We felt it's great to take an audience somewhere, exotic, full of colorful characters, and so having a movie from South Africa that was using indigenous themes of Ubuntu, which means working together. You know, South Africa is a country composed of 14 different tribes.
The idea is to discuss how animated movies can further grow and also work along the impact questions of representativity and identity, ecology, and all these. And for the sake of the panel, we decided to cut that in two different sections because I think the questions are very different for kids and family and for art house grown-up films. So I'll ask each of the panelists to briefly introduce what they do in this area and how they address it and the next steps, the challenges, and so how to work on these themes together with animated movies. So I think, Eleanor, this is you to start. Please, darling.
Okay, thank you, Christophe, and thank you to the Marché du Film in Cannes and to Ventana Sur for organizing this and for giving me the opportunity to participate. I am an American. I live in Paris for 30 years, and I've been quite involved through indie sales in animated films that we hope have an impact. So I think the first thing about this subject is that I think it's really great news that we're here and that we're talking about this and that these opportunities are now becoming possible. I agree with Christophe that in the kids and family sector and in the adult sector, it's totally different. I think that Edward will speak also very well about this, but I think in the kids and family sector, issues that are close to children and families are now very much upfront and top of mind in the films that are being produced and sold worldwide. And as we know, kids are very righteous, interesting people, and they like to be stimulated and entertained around issues that are important to them. And in the adult market, what is great is that we can talk about all kinds of things now with animation. The challenge is in the adult animated films to have them seen. So I was delighted to hear that there was a 20-minute standing ovation for Ari Folman's film about Anne Frank, because he is a bellwether in this genre, I guess we could call it. And I think there's lots of other opportunities to get really strong films made for adults in animation. So the challenge is, as I said, to get the right exposure. But I think that the audience has grown during the pandemic and will continue to do so.
Can I ask back, Eleanor, when you said, so it's like we're talking about crossover. So how do we manage with our little budgets compared to some other budgets to really become, to reach a wide audience, right? So how we're looking for ways to distribute better in the cinemas, on screens, these animated movies.
For adults, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, the market is small. You know, you're not going to hit the market you hit with a larger budget for families, but you do that through great festival exposure and then very specific the ways that you bring it to market. And also you hope that, like for any film, that you have a great film and that, you know, the wonderful alchemy of cinema happens and the public connects with that. It's not that much different than what you do in all films, because every film, as we all know, requires a very specific marketing campaign. So you look at your film, you think about the audience you want to reach, and you put it out there like that.
Yeah, so if we do a step back, because before distribution you have to produce it. So Mike, how do you manage to produce your very specific kids and family films out of Mexico?
Thank you, Christophe, and thank you, everybody. It's an honor to be here beside such remarkable, experienced people. I'm Miguel. Everybody calls me Mike. We have an animation studio based in Mexico City. And yeah, like you said, Christophe, animation, not just in Mexico, but in Latin America, is still a very small but very talented market with a lot of talented people. And yes, doing a, just like you said, taking a step back. It's a big step back just to produce the film, like to have a film come to life. And it doesn't matter if it's from Mexico or Latin America or anywhere. I believe bringing a film to life, it's a miracle in itself. Like to just
You produced already 4 or 5 long features animated, right?
We have three finished
yeah.
films in production of the 4th one and starting a fifth one. And what we do, we call it cause-driven entertainment. We produce kids and family animated films to generate social impact. And we do it taking 3 important steps. The first one is storytelling, of course. Like Eleanor said, it's the same as any film. We need to focus on having a very good script. But the storytelling, we have a clear scope and a goal in mind to raise awareness and move to action towards a specific cause. And we have that in mind since we're starting to write the script. So that's always the goal in our mind, how to generate awareness. And with that, we have several tools that we use to investigate. We work closely with charities and civil associations to understand and to make a thesis about the topic. And then how to find this big idea that we will start building from to generate awareness. It doesn't matter if it's childhood cancer or children with special capabilities or migration and refugees, which is the topics that we're tackling right now. Then the next step forward, which is distribution, we talk about business models. And it's like the same business model as any film, but we twitch it and add some more elements in order to facilitate the social impact and to make it tangible in terms of fundraising and awareness. So we try to facilitate the link between the local distributors and local charities so they can help each other and create a circle of virtue. So it's a win-win situation for everybody. So since we work closely with charities since the beginning, we take them all the way to distribution. And in the end, as well as Eleanor said, it's all about marketing. And in our case, it's market development. It's a lot of market development so we can make this a trend.
And so you have the right people on your side for the issue you're tackling in the film story. Then you have the right campaign. Is it international or just in your market?
Right now, it's just in our, well, not just, right now, of course, it's our market because there's only so much we can do. So it's in our market, and we're very proud to say that so far films have raised around $250,000 for charities, for childhood cancer, for like Special Olympics for kids with special capabilities. We're working with the UNHCR with the film we're producing now for migrants and refugees. And we're pushing out there to have a step back. Then again, I'm going to use that term again. From production, we want to do international co-productions so it can facilitate the international impact of our film. So we have done something in Spain. We have done something in Korea to facilitate this communication between the local distributor and charities so we can have an impact outside of Mexico, also in Latin America with Special Olympics. We have done a lot of work in Latin America to raise funds with our latest film. So yes.
And as we discussed before, to get your My Life as a Zucchini that Eleanor fantastically worked with, up to the César, was it Oscar nominated? I don't remember. Yes, it was. So you see, so to do that, you're planning to go into international co-productions, Mike.
Yes, I think before getting into all the marketing and commercialization of the film, we need to do strong local allies, and you start your co-producer with teaming up with like-minded people that want to jump on board on this thing that we can call a genre, like Eleanor said. Let's hope it becomes a genre, and that's what I'm working on right now to have a co-production on another country or 2 or 3 countries. And I truly believe that when we have a finished film, that way we can have a strong presence so we can guarantee the social impact, at least in the countries that we're co-producing with.
Okay, very good. So now we'll go to another one. So we'll come back to animation and public funding paradise, France, to check how Sébastien does it. How do you start preparing your film, building up your story, the production and the distribution of your animated movies?
We start to work on this project with the directors because it's the main element for me. Most of them contact me and approach me with very strong stories. Most of the time, these stories has the same specific angle. How to tell a universal story with a very singular context. And this is something very motivating for me because I think to have an impact, we have two elements to include on this type of movies, something very personal and something very universal, and that's the beginning for me when we start to develop project and one of the key to produce these movies for an adult audience.
Was Funan for you an adult, for adults, or is it like a larger audience?
No, for me, for us, my co-producer and I, it was an adult movie, and it was very complicated to finance the project because it's a paradise for public funds, but it's not yet a paradise for broadcasters for this kind of project. We have to continue our work with them to educate them about animation movies for an adult audience, because I think we have an audience for this type of movie, but it's complicated to convince partners to come on board for these movies, and I find other solution to produce Funan, for example, and we do a co-production between France, Luxembourg, Belgium, and Cambodia. And the fact we involve Cambodia during this production was an argument for us, not an argument, was something very important for us, the director and I, because we have an impact when we involve the country from who are talking the story. We try to do it in all our production, and now we try to have give back logical in all our production, because we want to work with talent from these countries. We want to help them to grow up in the industry and give them the keys to manage their own project in the future.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there was a tiny bit of irony about the paradise, because I've been doing few pitching to the CNC and these kind of people, and usually they don't really understand much about the aim we have got in animation. I mean, it's hard. There's some education to do that. It's true. And the presence of animation in Cannes, for instance, is also quite representative of how people love animated movies in our industry. So, Edward, how do you distribute all this? How do you find your films?
Sure.
How do you check the stories, the impactful stories you're looking at, and how does it work? How does it work well? Is it easy?
Absolutely. I'll get to that. Christophe, thank you very much for being here and being part of this panel with our distinguished colleagues. Cinema Management Group has been in the animation business since 2003. We've been more focused on four-quadrant family entertainment than more of the art house crossover titles. Our first movie that we sold in 2003 was Hoodwinked, the true story of Little Red Riding Hood, which was an American production, and ended up grossing $110 million worldwide. Then in 2006, we started working with a South African company called Triggerfish, which just in Annecy won the MIFA award for Best Company of the Year. We've done 3 movies with them, and the reason we took a leap of faith with Triggerfish, it was their first movie in 2006, Zambezia, or The Adventures of Zambezia, is because we felt it's great to take an audience somewhere, exotic, full of colorful characters, and so having a movie from South Africa that was using indigenous themes of Ubuntu, which means working together. You know, South Africa is a country composed of 14 different tribes and 14 different languages.
It is a rainbow nation, and my tribe loved that.
And we did too. And the movie worked great, and the way that we've financed now 13 movies is primarily through pre-sales to distributors. Our latest movie, Aimbo, which is being released in France on Wednesday with a wide 250 print release, we pre-sold to 28 countries. It's a Peruvian-Dutch co-production. We, again, saw something very attractive in the idea of doing a movie in Peru set in the Amazon with a strong female, young 13-year-old heroine, with a lot of indigenous cultural qualities and also a strong ecological message. So that's kind of how we choose our projects.